Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth, and today is the closing day of my Full Nelson week, and I'm featuring from Thomas Nelson the Chronological Study Bible. Now, one thing that makes the Chronological Study Bible super interesting is not only its arrangement, but what it addresses. And what it does is it takes you back to the times and places that the people of Israel, their surrounding cultures, and kind of plugs you into the world that existed back then. And it's broken down into 9 epochs. Epoch 1 is from creation to 2000 BC. They don't really address the young earth, old earth kind of theory, but what they do is they acknowledge the dates and times that are kind of common to people, which I'll show you a little bit about that once we get into the Bible. Epoch 2 is the patriarchs and Israel's ancestry. Then Epoch 3 is a rise of Israel, moving all the way into Epoch 9, which is the church age. This thing has all kinds of great content in it. It has a 9.5 point font. It's the New King James in the comfort print. So let's take a look. But before we do, I do want to give you one recommendation from their sister company in Zondervan, which they actually worked together with Thomas Nelson in the New King James to create the Cultural Backgrounds Study Bible. This is one of my favorite study Bibles, and it does similar things to this. It's a perfect complement because it takes you back to the culture and kind of shows you the backing cultures around it. So anyhow, let's dive into this one. Number one, it is a leather soft cover. It does come with one ribbon. Now you would ask, why only one ribbon in a Bible of this nature? Well, you're going to find out when you figure out the layout. At first, I thought it was a 3-piece, but it seems to be a 1-piece with just some decorative stitching right along there. I don't see any separation there. Check it out. Really nice spine. It has 4 raised hubs. They are accent gilded. Really nice gilding on the lettering and the Thomas Nelson logo. I love, look, and here's one way. If you're going to put the ISBN number on the cover, do it a blind stamp. That's actually, you know what, well done. So anyhow, another thing that you'll want to pay attention to is when you want to see the epochs, they're color coded. So if you remember the color code, you can easily find which epoch you're in. Just go to that specific color, and then you're in Epoch 6. So now let's get with the layout, and this is where it gets kind of wild. Okay, so it is set up chronologically. Now, in the introductory material and all that, they admit that they're guessing on some things. They don't know exactly when some, it's like the book of Job is not placed in Genesis in this. So it doesn't have any references to speak of. It has a few textual notes, and the reason it doesn't have references is because this Bible is not just a chronological plan, it is laid out chronologically. That means there's going to be Psalms interspersed with the story of Samuel, and First and Second Kings and First and Second Chronicles are going to be all mixed into each other. The Gospels are going to be mixed into each other. So it takes a bit to get used to. But I do want to show you a few things that it offers. Okay, these like large tan boxes here, they serve as kind of like commentary. They give you some description and some information on particular verses, and then they kind of give you what was going on in the culture in their plants and animals. They have science and technology and agriculture and different things, and they have time capsules, and these time capsules tell you what was going on during this time. Now you'll notice this is 26,000 to 10,000 BC, so they acknowledge kind of like a secular calendar here while not necessarily explaining whether or not it's actually biblical or not. So the time capsule tells you kind of what was going on in other cultures and things that they were doing. So it's really sharp. It is in the comfort print. It's a 9.5 point font. And every time there's a big transition in the story, they will give you this transition because, again, there are no book introductions or anything like that because they just introduce you to the epoch. And let me show you a quick example of that in the beginning of Genesis. So this is like the introduction to Genesis, but it's not an introduction to Genesis, it's an introduction to Epoch 1, which covers a pretty good span of time. So as you get into some of the more books that'll utilize the chronology, you're going to notice like there's a psalm there in 1 Samuel, so it's kind of switching back and forth. You do see the poetic settings. It also gives you another transition where we're moving in from David to the sons of David taking control. So every time there's a big transition, they're going to give you this transition. Let's take a quick look at the New Testament. And in the New Testament, you will see that this is a black letter edition. There are no red letters for the words of Christ. And again, the Gospels are all over the place. Okay, you're going to have some Luke and some Mark and different ones just interspersed throughout here. Like there's Matthew and Mark right there all together. So this is going to be an interesting layout for some of you to get used to. It does have a full concordance. It has a glossary in the back. And then it also has a topical and cultural index to help you find different topics and different things. It has a beefy concordance. And then it has a 1-year and a 2-year reading plan. So it breaks it up into epochs because, again, that's how this is done. And it gives you an option to be able to read either 1 or 2 years, depending on how fast you want to read. Of course, it's got its maps in the back. There's a lot to this. I'll be honest, this is not a Bible I would read because it's just a confusing mess for me. But it's definitely a great reference tool to where you can look back and you're plugged into the times and places, and they're all kind of together. The psalm that was written to a certain circumstance is already there. So well done, Thomas Nelson. This is definitely not something that I'd sit down and read, but maybe you would like to read it. I'd rather use a chronological plan and use a regular Bible. So anyhow, there you have it. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nichols Word.